Hey everyone, so I have an idea for today. I don't know if it's like a really good idea that everyone should do, but I don't think it's gonna be an idea that ends terribly. Basically, I have a bunch of plants right now in the garage, and mostly that's because I'm trying to protect my potted plants, my potted perennials. I have tulips down there, dahlias, hydrangeas. I think I have a rose bush and a Bergania, probably some other things that I'm forgetting. I moved them down to the garage. Some of them it is to protect from the cold, like they aren't as cold tolerant as I would hope for my area, especially in containers. But mostly, especially for the bulbs, it's to prevent the soil from getting too wet. So if I leave them outside, they will either rot the bulbs or the roots will get root rot and then the plant will die. At least that's been my experience the last few years, so that's why I now put them into the garage. So this way they're protected, and I think I've watered maybe 3 times. I've been checking on a weekly basis, just sticking my finger in, but I have not watered more than 3 times since I moved them in there, I think around the end of November. Now, the garage does have a heater. It's not set really high at all. It just basically kicks on if the temperature goes below freezing, stays on until it goes back up. And because it's been so mild, except for that 1 week of below zero temperatures, the heater hasn't really ran very often. And I think on average, it's been about like 40 degrees in there, which is a perfect temperature for plants that do have chill requirements, which most of these do. So a lot of these plants, it's not like I can bring them inside here because they need chill requirements to set buds and grow for the next year. But because it has been a little bit warmer, like 40 degrees in there, some of them definitely think it's spring and are starting to grow. So my plan is, I have, I think, 6 total hydrangeas down there. There are 2 that are starting to bud up. So I figured, why not go ahead and pop them up now? Clearly they've hit their chilling requirements because they're already starting to put on new growth, and keep them inside here until I'm ready to move them outside. And I thought that'd be an interesting test just to see what happens. And I'll bring in a couple hydrangeas, leave the rest in the garage, see how much further along they get inside, and obviously it'll be nice to have a hydrangea growing here inside, and then compare that to the ones that I didn't move inside. Now with my dahlias, I keep those in the garage both for the amount of water and for the temperature because they can't handle the cold temperatures like tulip bulbs, for example. But those I bring in early April anyway to pre-sprout them or give them a head start. And I will bring them in, the temperatures inside are much warmer than in the garage. They'll start to grow. I'll get them outside after our last frost. And again, that just gives them a little bit of a head start once they're moved outdoors. So I'm going to try the same thing with hydrangeas, except we're doing it about 2 months earlier than I would with the dahlias. So I think it'll be fun, and we'll just kind of see how it goes. So let me take you downstairs and I'll show you what's currently still in the garage. And most of what's in there is going to stay there. We'll give some pets to Penelope on the way down the stairs. So we're in the garage now, and apologies for it being a little bit dark in here, but right now the temperature is 53 degrees because I think we're in like the mid 40s outside. Humidity is at 55%. I have here, oh, I did forget, I have these 2 apple trees. The Bergania is back there. So that one is evergreen, so the foliage does stay there throughout the winter. Still though, I don't think it's low enough for me to leave outside, or a low enough zone to leave outside in a container. Then I'm pretty sure hydrangea. So I'm gonna try to find room for all of these next year, or this year in the garden. They're obviously still pretty small. The 2 I'm gonna bring in are this one here and that one right there because those already have buds on it. And so I thought it'd be interesting to see what happens. In my black pots here are dahlias, so those are staying till April. And then under here, which you can't really see, are the pots of tulips. So I already brought a pot of daffodils up because those were coming up. The tulips have not started to sprout. So those are gonna stay in here until either I see them sprout or it's warm enough to get them outside. So let's go ahead and grab this one, which do I have a label for this one? Oh yeah, so this one is the Let's Dance Ariba. And then this one is Tough Stuff Top Fun. And I'm gonna need both hands, so we're gonna have to cut the camera for a second. Okay, so I'm up here with these 2 hydrangeas. I dropped some leaves along the way, which I'll have to go down and pick back up, but I also did try to knock off just out on the deck a lot of the dead leaves. I'll probably cut off the old blooms too once I get them potted up. just to get them all ready for their fresh start. Now, I do want to say that these 2 hydrangeas and all the other ones that are in the nursery containers downstairs were sent to me by Proven Winners last fall. So I somehow have been lucky enough to get on the list of gardeners that Proven Winners sends plants to. I'm so incredibly grateful because I would not have as many plants as I currently do. Now, I was thinking, does it actually save me money? And I mean, I don't have to spend money on the plants, but when you garden in containers, that means that when I have more plants, I buy more soil and more pots. So I don't know if I'm really saving money by this, but I am getting to try out a bunch of plants that I don't think I would have picked up before, and it just gets me more plants in my garden. So I do love that, and I am so incredibly grateful. So these 2 here, this one is the Tough Stuff Top Fun Hydrangea Serrata. This one is actually a reblooming mountain hydrangea, which I've been reading a hydrangea book. Can't remember the name of it, I'll link it down below, but it did say that if you live in a climate like mine, so we're zone 6A or colder, and you have an issue with your hydrangeas blooming every year, which can be more of a problem with big leaf hydrangeas, then try mountain hydrangeas, because even though they're from the same region originally, these are up in the mountains, so they are used to colder temperatures. So if you do have an issue with that, try getting mountain hydrangea. I think this is, well, last year was the first year I got mountain hydrangeas. I think I might have 2, maybe 3 different ones. So I'm excited to see how the different varieties of hydrangeas do as well. But this one is great because the maximum size is 3 feet by 3 feet, which for my container garden, I probably don't want to go more than 3 feet with a hydrangea that I'm going to grow in a pot. So I think I'm going to love this one. And then this other one is, what was the name again? Let's Dance Ariba. This is also a Hydrangea Serrata, mountain hydrangea. I believe both of these are down to zone 4, now again in containers. If you're going to leave something out over winter, you want to make sure it's at least 2 zones below your current zone. So technically a 4 is 2 below a 6A, but again, it's the moisture of the soil over winter that I'm more concerned about. With the root rot, that's happened to me with at least 2 hydrangeas in the past. So keeping them in the garage has obviously made them much happier. So let me show you what I'm going to pot them up in. I might only pot up 1 because I don't know if I have enough soil right now for 2. And that's how well I planned ahead on this, instead of it just being a whim to want to bring these in. But if I can't plant them both up, I'll at least pot up 1 for now, and then I'll pot up the other one later. But let me show you the pots that I got specifically for all of my hydrangeas. So this is the pot that I'm going to use for my hydrangeas. Now, what I think I'm going to do is put all of the hydrangeas in similar looking pots, just so there's not too much variation within the pots and the plants really get to stand out. I have 2 of these in terracotta. I also have 2 of these in the color chocolate, and these are called, they're from PSW, the Western Weave Planter. They're 14 inches in diameter, 11.5 inches tall. I think for a 3-foot maximum plant, these will be perfect. So I'm hoping that I can just keep the hydrangea in here for its entirety. Now the reason I got this, so the actual materials are made from a blend of recycled plastic, stone powder, and wood dust. So I could leave it out in the winter if I wanted to, but I got it because, well, 1, it's pretty, and 2, it's lightweight. So if this was terracotta, for example, 1, I wouldn't want to leave it out over winter. I still don't think I'm going to, but also it'd be heavier than this. And because my plan is to hopefully, even when they are 3 feet long, either move them down to the garage or at least put up my plastic greenhouse again and put them in there, but either way I'm gonna have to move them. So that's why I wanted something lightweight, because you'll see as I get the soil and then the plant in here and then add water to that, it gets a lot heavier. Now these come with a spot in the bottom to drill a drainage hole. So you do have to drill a drainage hole. I would never grow anything in the garden in a pot that doesn't have a drainage hole. I will do that with houseplants sometimes because I'm the only one watering my houseplants, but I can't trust Mother Nature to water something in a container without a drainage hole and not kill it. But because for me, again, I've had issues with root rot, I wanted to drill another hole. So this one was a little bit harder to get through. I mean, not much harder, but I did add another one there. So I have 2 drainage holes in the bottom of this pot. And let's just get the soil in. I might actually, I don't know if I have perlite. So I might not add in some perlite just for more drainage. Need to get some of that because I do add it to my raised beds. But we'll get this potted up and then we'll see if I have enough soil to pot up the other one. All right, let's see if I can dump some in there without it getting all over the table. I don't know how likely that is. All right, I think that's enough of a mess. Now anything that's on the table is just gonna get swept right into this pot. Oh, I think I just got a brush. Let me go find it. I did. So although I do have a handheld vacuum if I'm sucking up dirt, but this, since it is fresh potting soil, I still want to use it. I don't want to suck it up in the vacuum. I just want to knock it back into the pot. I'm wondering if this is actually more effective than just using my hands, but we'll see. Let's tilt you down so I don't make another mess on the floor. And I think I can already tell I don't have enough to pot up the second one. So that one will just have to live up here until I do. But let's go ahead and pot you up. And I am going to save little nameplates because I'm not going to remember what they are without it. Now I am a gardener who likes to have gloves on when they work, even with houseplants. With houseplants, it's more of just getting the dirt in my nails. I don't like that feeling. But when it comes to plants outside, I'm not a person who likes to run into a bug or an insect. Like, I appreciate them, but I don't want to touch them with my bare hands. So I always like to work with gloves. I feel like it gives me a superpower where I'm no longer scared to touch things I might be scared to touch without them. So I'm they're not too root bound, but I'm just giving it a look over, making sure there's no like slugs, because I did have a different hydrangea that had slugs in it. So I'm assuming the slugs came in with the plant, because I don't know how else they would have gotten up here. So I just want to make sure I'm not seeing anything that I might need to take care of. And I don't. Doesn't mean they're not hiding in there. This looks good. So let's place you down in the pot, making sure that there's a couple inches for me to water easily. I just went through all of my fertilizers and organized it. Do I have anything? Maybe I'll add some biotone right now. Let me grab that too. So I'm going to add some biotone, which I typically add anytime I'm planting something new in the garden. Usually it's getting used outside. Today we'll be getting used inside. And then add in there. Now this is a hydrangea. I'm pretty sure both of them are a hydrangea that if you adjust the acidity of the soil, you can control the color of the blooms. So if you add a soil acidifier, the blooms will be more blue. If you don't, it'll just be based on the soil itself. I feel like potting soil is pretty neutral, but also I don't want to add any extra work. Like, it's beautiful to see blue blooms on hydrangeas, but I don't want to do that work for it. So whatever naturally these want to do, that's what I'm going to let them do. So now let's fill the pot the rest of the way, get you watered. Now to fill the pot, I will use my scoop instead of just dumping straight in there. But I know I'm still probably gonna make a mess anyway. This is definitely one of the rooms I vacuum the most consistently because I'm usually working with potting soil multiple times a week, and I'm not a clean or tidy gardener in any way. Now, because there is a drainage hole in this pot, and obviously I'm gonna water it, I'm probably not gonna have to water it. Well, definitely not as much as I would outside. I'll probably continue to check this once a week, but I'm going to think I might only need to water it like once every few weeks, especially because it's still, relatively small. The pot's a good size, but because there's drainage holes, I need to put this on top of a saucer, which I'm pretty sure I have one that'll fit this in the closet. See, that's why I always am hesitant to get rid of things, even though I do like to be organized, because I always think if I get rid of it, then I'm going to find a use for it and not have it. It actually feels really nice, though, to be potting something up. I mean, I'm excited for bulbs, but I don't really have to do work for that. So they are already planted. They're just kind of coming up whenever they're going to come up. That's something growing in the garden. I do have to do cleanup. That's probably my next garden task, but it feels good to actually be planting something, which is nice. And it feels different doing it for something that is eventually going to be outside than it does for just houseplants. I don't know why, but to me it does. And I'm just excited to see how trying out a hydrangea inside goes. Again, it's not staying inside forever. It's just staying inside until it's warm enough to get it outside, which will be before the last frost. And so, let's see, right now it's going from like a 40 to 50 degree environment to a controlled environment in here. Depending on the temperature, well, I'm probably gonna acclimate it a little bit over time anyway because it hasn't had direct sun for a while. And it's not gonna have direct sun until I get it outside. So I will probably acclimate it, you know, out for a few hours, then in, out, in, until it gets used to it. But I think that's more gonna do with the direct sun than the temperature difference. So, all right, let's clean, find a saucer, and water it. So although I don't have enough potting soil to pot the other one up yet, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do just because I'd like to store it in the pot because I think setting it in the pot will look prettier than just leaving it in the nursery container up here. But I'm gonna show you something I do fairly often when I wanna put something in a container and it doesn't fit. And that's like trying to MacGyver something together that kind of looks like it works. So like if I put this directly in here, this would be too deep. So I have to like go all the way down there. So I need something to prop it up, and then I also need something to catch the water when I water it. And I thought this was going to work, but I think this is gonna be too tall because, well, let me show you. Actually, hang on, I'm gonna put that in there. And then, how far does that set? Okay, this, I don't know, I think it's still gonna be too tall. So if I set this on top of there, I mean, that's actually, no, that's too tall. That's gonna look too weird. I need something just slightly shorter. All right, I'm just winging stuff now. Just making a stack of trays. That's better. It's not great, but I think I like it in there better than just sitting in the nursery can, so I'm gonna go with it. All right, so here's where I've put the two pots. Obviously that one is not potted up yet. It's just sitting in there for now. There is a drainage dish though inside of the pot so I can still water it without it leaking all over the floor. And then this one, I thought it would look nice just by the window in front of my shoes. And there is a plastic tray underneath it. So the last thing now is just to water it in. Now, just like with any other plants, you want to water it in thoroughly until it drains out of the bottom. I'll also be checking to see if I need to add more soil in, because the water often allows the soil to get a bit more compact, so that any air bubbles I want to make sure to fill in with soil. See if one pitcher is going to be enough to drain through the bottom. So it does look like the waters ran through down to the drainage dish, and the soil still feels pretty compact, so I don't think I need to add any more in there. So that's it. I'm just going to see, again, the test is what's going to be the difference between this in terms of like a head start versus the ones that I still have in the garage. So it'll be fun, and it's fun to have a hydrangea growing inside because why not? So that's gonna be everything for this video. It's nice to have a hydrangea inside. Again, do I think this is something you should do? I don't know, but it's something I'm gonna do and see how it turns out, see how it compares to the ones that are gonna spend a couple more months in the garage. I do expect, assuming the temperatures remain mild, that the stuff in the garage might be moved out sooner than I thought, so maybe even in about like a month, month and a half, but we'll kind of see how it goes. But I'll keep you updated on this, and I'm excited to get them growing and then get them outside and have a whole garden, once again, filled with flowers. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.